Hey guys, hello. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome back to the It's Not Tarot show. And no, it's not tarot. In fact, it's not any kind of card reading you've ever seen before. And is it possible to look at something 1,000 times and never really see it? And could this be the case with playing cards? And could it be that playing cards are a time capsule, only meant to be opened and deciphered now, as we enter an unprecedented era of awakening? I'm Ana Cortez, author of the Playing Card Oracles, Oracle Alchemy, and the Doors of Somlipith, and I'll be your host for the next hour. The format of this show is we start off with a theme or a topic, or in today's instance, a guest, then complete our time together with live readings, getting advice from the playing cards for you. So make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. Today is April 21st, 2022, and it's the 51st episode of It's Not Tarot, which means next week, next Thursday, will be the 52nd episode. And you know what that means. That means we are celebrating, we are having a party. 52 is the magic number in playing cards and in natural timekeeping. And we are not going to overlook that. So I hope you join us next week. Our guest for today is super, super special. Not just special to me, she's just special. And she is CJ Freeman's niece. She is definitely part of this Oracle bloodline. She's my first cousin. I love her to pieces. She's one of those people I could talk to on the phone forever, and we sometimes do. And she's also one of the big enthusiasts, and I would say pioneers, in this way of card reading with CJ Freeman's decks, and all the knowledge that's come through on how to use them that really unlocks the secrets of the playing cards. But before we bring Allison on, I just want to give a few little updates. There's quite a bit going on. The website is down, and I don't know how to fix it. So it's just offline for a little while. It'll be back up as soon as my tech team can figure everything out. Secondly, I just got back from Arkansas. And if you have the good fortune to get to Arkansas, I hope you make it to Fayetteville. That whole Northwest area is so beautiful. And check out, when you're there, the store called the Four of Wands. Here's the little flyer I picked up. This store is amazing. They have everything in there for your metaphysical interests. I was blown away. I've never quite seen a store like that really has all the supplies you need. The staff was so friendly. I just want to do a shout out to them, not promotion, it's not an agreement. It's just, I just think they deserve it. Also, the new trading packs are in the store. All the trading packs are in the store right now, so you can collect the entire picture book of Fate and Fortune. The new moon is, of course, right around the corner. And so look for announcements about the new Oracle Tide meeting. The Doors of Somlipith, the new deck and card set by myself and CJ Freeman, is now available for pre-order. You have to have this set. It's not negotiable. And so you can go to Barnes & Noble or Schiffer.com or Amazon and just search the Doors of Somlipith. There's a new Discord group that was in the last email. Make sure you're on the email list. There's a lot happening over there. Whew. And I think that's about the main points right there. So I don't want to delay any further. I want to bring Allison on right now. She's got so much to share with us. There's so much we want to share with you guys. And welcome, Allison.
Thank you. So excited to be here. I feel very honored and blessed, and I'm so excited to talk cards today. So, yay!
My favorite topic, our favorite topic. Don't we just get going when we start talking about that?
We do. It's like you said, it's a forever kind of thing. Like, where do we just go on and on and on? And it's like when I start talking with you, I'm like, oh my God. And then, or I got to tell you about that.
Yeah. And Allison gave me such invaluable feedback when I was in the creation process of the new book, right? Both you and Naga were so instrumental to me. Yeah. And Allison's just so actively working with the cards, and in particular, the deck that is going to be, and there's my dad saying hi. Hello, Charlie. This is your go-to, right, Allison?
This is my go-to, yes. So I'm a psychotherapist in Denver. I've ran my private practice for 10 years now. And over the course of time, I've started including these amazing oracle cards, and they're like no other. I have used other cards, and just isn't quite the same. It's like I always go back to these cards because they're so multidimensional. They provide almost like an infinity of, almost like a domino effect and an infinity kind of effect, almost like dropping a stone into a lake and seeing the ripples. There's not really one, like I go to one card and I know that it's not like another deck where I go to a certain card and I know that that's just the face value of the card. It's like these cards have some kind of magic door or a mirror that speaks over and over and over again. So they're really, I find them to be so multifaceted and multi-dimensional and multi-use.
Yes, there's just layers, isn't there, that just keep revealing themselves?
Yes. Yeah. So over the course of time, I started like, why not pull some cards before clients came in? That's kind of how I started using this deck in my practice. So I would think about like, okay, well, today's client, I knew what the client was like, and I knew maybe what they are struggling with or what their goals are. And so I have an idea of what the client is like. So I've used the cards to get more information around what the client is currently going to come in about for the day. Or I could pull a card just to kind of ask more about, what they're coming in for the day, but also like, maybe I'm having trouble reading the client. Like maybe I'm like, I'm kind of stuck with this person. Show me something that gives me a deeper perspective around what the client is struggling with, or how can I act, or how can I be with this client to help them. So I've used the cards for myself, but also to have more of a perspective around the client as well. And I only draw one card. I don't do like all your, you have so many amazing different spreads in your books, and I tend to just draw one card, and it's gives me so much information, sometimes two. But that's kind of how I started incorporating. Then I started getting clients that were like, ooh, let's do a card reading in the middle of a session. And so we have also used these cards with the 4-card spread to maybe have more insight around, like I had one client come in and she was switching jobs and she wanted to know about her career changes. And so we did a 4-card spread, and that was really helpful for her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And I'm sure with the background that you have and the training that you have, it really helps you to know how to talk about the cards with clients.
Yes. Yes. So a lot of my clients, not all, but a lot of them are more metaphysical or holistically based. So they might have an understanding, or if not, I'll tell them, like, every suit has a different element, like, the 9 of spades would be more of an earth kind of card.
Right.
Um, Pulling in some of the elements to help provide more of an understanding around psychologically where they're at as well. So, for instance, if they're overthinking about things, there might be a club that shows up, and maybe they need to really start to become more present in their body or in their heart space. So looking at more of like a spade card, like, what is that? Might show more of like a body kind of presence versus a fire card or
Sure.
card. So kind of bringing those elements into the card reading as well with clients.
Nice. I love that. And I want to mention too, and we could go on about that forever. I know you've shared with me a very few little examples of particular clients and particular cards that have come up
Yeah.
in confidence, just to help. Maybe you wanted to share how amazing it was with me, or you wanted my input on it because
Yeah.
it was particularly, it wasn't coming right away or something like that.
Yeah.
And, but I want to also talk about your cacao ceremonies
Yes.
with cards. You are really breaking ground that way, I feel. And can you explain a little about that? How often do you have these ceremonies? How do you incorporate the cards? Do you always incorporate the cards? What's going on with that?
Okay. I'm so glad you asked, because cacao ceremonies are a true passion of mine. If for any of you that don't know what cacao ceremonies are, they come from a Mesoamerican tradition thousands of years ago, and you use raw chocolate in combination with the ceremony. And the way that I facilitate and write ceremonies is with cacao and these cards. And so I do individual ceremonies. I've done online ceremonies. I believe being in person is completely different and almost more powerful. I've done birthday party cacao ceremonies, and I've done group ceremonies, full moon ceremonies. So I've done all kinds of different ceremonies. How often I would say probably for a while there, I was doing about one a month. I've taken a small break, but I'm looking to get back into them here later in the year. So one of my most favorite, most profound ceremonies that I ever was like honored to be a part of, and I wrote it and I facilitated it. It was extremely powerful, and I used this card as the main driver or the main creator. Like, I see these cards as actually being my guide to writing, and they are the guides of the ceremony. I'm just the person who hears all the information, writes it down into a journey type like meditation. And we go on a really cool, out of this world type of meditation that where things happen that don't normally happen in this realm of existence. The Guardian, so it was actually during Christmas time. So it was a time of giving. And this card is so much about like giving and receiving. And it was like the most magical thing I think I've ever experienced. The Guardian showed up really throughout the entire ceremony, but specifically there was a cave in this meditation where there were bats flying around and there was a golden net. And it really had so much to do with the idea that when we like show up in the world and when we give unconditionally, we then receive back. And there were other characters too. But the Guardian was really the overseer of what other characters came into play. So when I write a ceremony, I take the deck and I shuffle it and I spend a lot of time meditating with it, and I sleep with the cards underneath my pillow. And I have these, so when the next day I'll get my cards and okay, these are the cards. I sometimes shuffle and ask the cards, like there's an intention behind the ceremony. These people want to do a ceremony about giving and receiving. And lo and behold, that card shows up, and there's other cards too. So then I start having conversations with the cards in my meditations, like, what do we need to know more of? And I really begin to actually see like pictures and stories that start to form, and I write them down. And that's the basis of how the ceremony becomes created. And then eventually, when it's ceremony time, when it's that day, I also have another ceremony around the ceremony with the cards. And so Naga, my cousin, your daughter, she and I actually, we facilitated this particular ceremony together. And we woke up in the early morning at like 7 a.m. and we had all the beautiful cards, and we had this gorgeous layout of a table with like flowers and cacao. And we said prayers and we blessed the cards. And then we went to the ceremony and we had all the cards laying out. And so they are characters they're characters within the realm of the meditation, but they're also my guides in the beginning. And then they also hold space during the ceremony as well. And then after, of course, closing ceremony, making sure to say thank you to the cards. And then that's really the end. So it's a big process. These cards are amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that you are innovating in your own arena with these cards and this system as part of the blood lineage of CJ, and I feel like you are an intrinsic part of this lineage moving forward, and this way of working with cards. I feel like you and Naga are priestesses of this lineage, and that you are carrying it forward.
I am so honored I feel that too. And I feel so excited and so honored to be doing that. And I guess it comes, maybe it is a part of the blood lineage. It feels very natural to me. It feels very like,
yeah. And I think it's accessible to everyone.
Absolutely. And I think, for all of you out there that are, wanting to do more with the cards, I think it's just a matter of finding what feels right. And I'm going to throw in a little example here. So we just got a new puppy, and she's 3 months old. She was a rescue. She is a rescue. She's doing great. However, she has had a few little digestive things, probably natural. But the other day, I was actually 2 days ago when I was preparing for this and working more with the deck, I decided I was going to clear her with this card. So
Nice.
and this card is really about like desire or I guess like intention. Like if you have an intention and you see the intention, you can use the wand to really draw it forward. You do need to be careful with this card because there is always a dark and a light side to any of the cards. And so I just sat with her and I just let her sniff the card and she was interested in it. And I told this card that I really wanted to just kind of smooth what I call the aka, like smooth the unease to really help her feel more settled, if that's what her tummy issues are. I don't know. But I just kind of ran it around her a little bit. And that was my way of clearing, kind of like with Palo Santo or smudging with a
Nice.
sage stick.
Nice.
So I think we can play with these cards and use them in so many different ways than just by the book.
Exactly. And I think that's really the magic key. And I think that's something that, CJ is famous for, because if he had colored within the lines of the coloring book, this would not be here. We would not have this today.
So
and
true.
Yeah, and he was trusting his own connection to, whatever it was. He wasn't even an artist when he started creating these cards. He just felt like doing it.
Right.
So it's really like trusting yourself with anything you feel called for with this way of working, and it really responds to that. I think the energies that work through these cards embody that spirit. That's part of their spirit. Is the fearlessness, the willingness to draw your own conclusions, and the willingness to find your own individuality and find your own answers. It really supports that. So I love it when this community teaches me things about these cards, not just like a new meaning, but I love that too. Even that's something, like being willing to discover a new meaning, but also people are coming up with stuff all the time. And I'm so amazed, and it all works. If it works, then it's good.
I agree.
Oh, Naga's commenting in on the YouTube. She says, yes, your cacao ceremonies are incredible. And she says, I highly recommend it if anyone watching is interested. I've done 2 and they have brought so much insight. And I talked to your mother, my aunt, not too long ago about her cacao experience last fall, I think it was.
Yes.
She said it was life-changing for her. It was so unexpected for her. She didn't know what to expect, and it was just totally like nothing like she'd ever experienced before.
The thing that I love about the cacao ceremonies and the cards, because they do go together, is I have an intention and I don't ever know how it's going to turn out or what it's going to look like, but I have an intention to individually create it for that specific person. And so the cards, I think that's why these cards go so well with the cacao ceremony, because they are so, like I talked about earlier, multidimensional, multifaceted. So they are connecting in with my intention, but also the other people's energies. And so it tends to, I haven't actually ever had anyone be like, that was terrible, or like, or what, I mean, usually actually I have always had people give me some kind of feedback where it really was touching specifically for that person. And I don't really take credit for that. I really feel like it's energies beyond myself and all of the different tools that I'm using. I'm just the writer. I'm the messenger. And so it's, yeah, that's what that's the feedback that I get. So that's yay Naga.
And these cards, I think people are taken back when they first start using them because they're not expecting the depth and the transformative push that these cards bring.
Mm-hmm.
They know how to go right into the core of an issue, and in such a way that it just, if you know how to use these cards, it can propel you into a new place that you haven't been before, a place of growth,
Yes.
a place of power ultimately.
Yes.
Some people tell me they're intimidated by this deck. They feel like, whoa, like they can feel the power in there. And I explain to them, that really is the power that you're feeling, you know?
Yes. I have had the same kind of feedback from clients as well, that they're like kind of scary or they're intimidating or the images are really like out there, like they're almost shocking.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, that is the power that we are feeling. They can be, I've been scared of them.
Sure.
Even working, like, I'm like, oh man, I want to ask this question, but I'm kind of afraid of what I'm going to see, because I know it's going to be like a punch, like it's going to be like the truth.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. And it's so some people, I feel like if you're ready to awaken to what's going on in any particular situation, if you're ready to turn any situation in your life into an opportunity for your own growth and for your own empowerment, then you'll get along with these cards.
Mm-hmm. And I can see that Andy just wrote in and she says, "Hi, Allison, I'm afraid of that too." Yes.
Yay! It's confronting your fear time, guys.
Yeah, yeah. And what you just said, like being like ready, like being
Mhm.
kind of ready to be like and be open to hearing, because there is so much opportunity for transformation with these cards.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like there are cheerleaders on the other side, like really just wanting us to come into our better understanding of ourselves so we can serve ourselves and the world in the best way.
Yeah. So Andy says, how do we transform a reading that we didn't like? Would love to hear your insight. So I don't know about a reading, but I do have an example of when. So do you remember, Anna, when I moved into my new house that I'm in currently, and I think I picked a card that I did not like. Yes, I know exactly what card it was. It was the 8 of Spades. It was the woman that's on fire. This card.
Gee, you were intimidated by that card, Allison?
I like,
burning at the stake naked.
yeah, I'm like, what is this? This is a really scary, that I don't want this. This is terrible. And I remember you and I working through just talking about the card and understanding what the card is about. And so, Andy, I don't, maybe Anna, you have some insight or feedback on transforming a reading that we don't like. But for me, with that particular card and not liking it, I had to really look at first of all, what the card face value, what the card is about, and then really bravely look into my own life and understand why this card might be showing up, and being really honest. And I think for me, once I was honest with myself, I could then begin to see actually why the card is there, and then to begin to see how to transform myself through the card. So it's like, instead of transforming the reading or the card reading, it's more, I think for me, it was about transforming and how I'm looking at myself. And that really helped me. So
Don't you feel that as events unfolded, that sort of harkened back to that card for you in the example that you're talking about?
yes.
I find in situations like that where I've pulled a tough card or a tough geomantic figure or whatever it is, and then events start unfolding, and it gives me this reference point and an ability to surrender
Yes.
to difficulties,
Yes.
just going, oh, this is just an energy that I was expecting, and my power comes not in fighting this, like trying to make it something else, but finding my power within the situation that's been brought to my attention, and not trying to imagine or fight it or make it into something else. The card is going, no, this is where you're going to focus. This is where your focus needs to be. And this is where you're going to find your power, and know that some cards are hard.
I love that. And that's so true. It's like what's the word I'm trying to find? Like, it's like it's basically saying, here I am, and this is it's kind of like a guidepost. It's kind of like it's showing up, and in a way, as you were talking, I was thinking about how sometimes it can almost be a little bit of a relief, like, oh yeah, that card, I remember I pulled that card, and here's a really thing that's happening to me. Okay, like, I know, I get it. Maybe I can find some sort of understanding or meaning around this. So yeah.
Like I have a mild example compared to yours, because it just happened, so it's on the top of my mind, but I think it's a good example of how at least I dealt with this situation. I was on the new Discord forum for the playing card oracles, and there's a little section where you can draw a geomantic figure for the day. So I drew Carcer, and I just arrived in Arkansas to spend the week with my son and his girlfriend. And Carcer is like imprisonment. It's like blockages, stuff like that. So everything we wanted to do that week, everything we had planned, everything was not working out. Everything was closed. The hours were changed. Nothing was working, or it would start pouring rain on the day when we had something planned. And just knowing that Carcer in my mind was like, oh yeah, so here's Carcer. And so I don't need to fight this. Like, I don't need to make this something else. I don't need to be bummed about it. What are my opportunities within Carcer? Like, it's time to nest. It's time to incubate. It's time to settle in and surrender to that. So I was visiting my son. What else would I want to do than just appreciate being with him? It didn't matter what theme park we friggin' went to. It was like, no, this, like, put your attention where it's going to empower you.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. That's a great example. And like, if you hadn't have had Carcer, your opportunity to be with him would look totally different.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So there's the jewel inside of the darkness.
They're all 50-50.
Yeah.
It's how you direct the energy. So we have to become skilled at moving energy, like Tai Chi masters, or, what's that one martial art where you take the blow, but you don't take it, you redirect it. I'm not sure which martial art.
Yeah, this is bringing up something that I talk about a lot with my clients, and that is, this is like a psychological term, but it's called locus of control. Maybe you guys have heard of it, maybe not, but
looks like LOOKS.
no, locus, LOCUS, locus of control.
Oh.
And there's an external locus of control and there's an internal locus of control. So when someone says, I got a bad grade because that teacher didn't teach me very well, and that's an external locus of control because the control is outside of themselves. Internal locus of control is like what you were talking about just a second ago, learning how to move the energy, like learning that we have if we can shift into an internal locus of control, then we feel A, more in control, and B, we have the ability to detach from our issues and really see them in a completely different perspective. And that, I think, is what we're talking about here with these cards. Like the card is like, I feel like this card is like, it's like kind of yanks you by the chain and sticks your nose in it and is like, look at this, right? And so it's kind of like, okay, I will, and then when I do look at it, I'm like, oh, okay, now let's see how I can shift this. And this card doesn't have to be so scary anymore.
Right. And as I recall, hearkening back to the situation you were referring to, which you shared it with me in the time ago, and actually I have some narrative in the new book about that particular situation. So people can find out more nitty-gritty details.
You got the juice on me.
On with it, Ms. Allison. What was I saying? I don't know. Where was I going with that?
I don't know. Just we were talking about the cards and perspective.
But in retrospect, there was a lot of, you really juiced that card.
I juiced that card. The other one that I juiced is one of my favorites too. This one. This card was like,
you got the heavy hitters, man.
I kind
of juiced them. It was your opportunity for big transformation, and you did it.
I did. And I kind of like Dracula these days. Like I don't like him. I have like more of an understanding of this card, and it like doesn't scare me when he comes up in a reading or a card pulling. It's like, oh, information versus that's scary.
Right. And it's like once we become skilled or become open, just becoming open to like taking any situation and making it to our advantage, right? No matter what that looks like. I mean, that could look like anything.
Yes, exactly.
Then those cards quit being scary.
Right. And
there's another opportunity.
Right. Yes. Like they become kind of a friend, like someone who's going to tell you straight. Like,
right. Like your fly is down or your tag is sticking out. Like, don't you want to know?
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And these cards, specifically this deck, is my favorite. I do love the original, and the images and the drawings are, some of them are slightly different than, the two decks have different images and drawings, and meanings and energy. Like it's kind of interesting too how I'll use the different decks for different things.
So you do use what's now referred to as the original edition?
Yes. Actually, now that we're talking about the original deck, I forgot to mention with my cacao ceremony that I did with Naga, facilitated with her, and the Eight of Diamonds was the inspirational driver here. I actually combined both decks.
Ooh,
So I also use the Eight of Diamonds in the other deck as a inspiration for the inside of the castle that we all embarked upon.
oh, nice, cool,
There's the hearth and the gifts. And so
nice.
having both decks together was
Mhm.
really incredible to be able to use the energies to create what I did. Yeah.
They work together.
You.
They work together. And when you start combining them together, you will step up your game like no other. So
It,
people sometimes fret, like, oh my gosh, the image in this deck is not the same as that deck. And how do I use the book? And what do I do? And it's just like those images start to live in your mind, right?
yes.
Once
Yes.
you have looked at them enough, it's like whenever I see one card, I'm thinking of it in all the editions, like they're informing each other, they're whispering. It's like, I don't know what you could compare that to. It's like different facets of the same gem.
Yes. And also different parts of our psyche, I think, connect with the different cards as well. And so when I think we use different images, our brain sees a different image. And if we just put the book aside, like don't look at the book unless you really want to, but like play with it. Like you're saying, let the images be there and let them show you. Cause that's what I do with my cacao ceremonies. I'm just like, show me what you want to show me. And then things start intermingling with each other. And so yeah, like that's the thing. There another card that I um adore in both of the decks, and I have the cards spread out on my table right here and I can't find it. Is
I'll
the
find it for you.
oh, it's Leia. It's Queen Leia. She's
Mhm.
the 12 of clubs, I believe.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, ma'am.
Love her image. I connect more with the old deck image.
Okay.
But then there's the new deck, or I guess are we calling it the
You're
alchemy deck?
confusing me.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
Let's call it the new Doors of Somlipith deck because that's what it's going to be.
Okay, the new doors of some deck.
Mm-hmm.
Leia she looks totally different from the original deck, and yet she has this very, to me, um, very priestess,
Abso-freaking-lutely.
very
Priestess.
priestess energy. The other
Yeah.
one is a more ethereal. She's flying over the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And man, you combine those two cards together and you've got a powerhouse.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Yeah, well, this deck and what I discovered about this deck in writing the new book was just how meant for ceremony
Mm,
this deck is.
mm, mm,
It
mm.
has like a different way it likes to be used, you know?
I agree.
And I think her being this sort of priestess
Yeah.
really speaks to that. And I encourage people, if you still have your old edition of the Alchemy deck, you can get a jump start on, what's coming by just starting to think in those terms,
Yes.
ceremony. And I love the way that you use these cards for your ceremonies because there's such an extreme level of trust that you put into yourself as you work with these cards. You know, I don't know if you've ever read the book.
I have.
Trust yourself and the visions that come to you when you look at the card and you write it out. And I'm reading some of your cacao ceremony writings scripts, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, she has turned these cards into this full-blown like fairy tale. Like, I'm traveling through worlds, I'm doing this, I'm claiming that, you know, and I'm like, what? It just happened.
Yeah. And the cards are a source of a door. They're a doorway for just that. And when you were talking about the 12 of clubs, Leah, I actually I pull that card during ceremony and she sits next to me because she's a representation, or I am a representation. We're a representation of each other.
Because we're Geminis, me and you.
Yes.
We're air signs.
That's right. Yeah. And I love that card so much. And I see myself as priestess when I am operating.
Nice. I love that.
You know, anybody can do that.
Naga's reminded me of an important thing to bring up. Allison, is there a link or email we can share with the audience to get in touch for a cacao ceremony? And what about for psychotherapy?
Yes.
Are you available for all of that?
I'm available for all of that. And I'm typing in my email address right now. And here's my website, although mine is also under construction. It's down. So
okay. Here's Allison's email address. And I will put that in the comments under the video as well for people who are in the replay and may not be able to find the comments.
Okay. It's real simple. It's www.allisongomer.com. That's my website, and my email address, maybe you can put in there as well. And yeah, I would love to begin to start doing more cacao ceremonies. Like I said, I took a short break. And then with psychotherapy as well, of course, if that is something, if the cards are something that a client wants to use, then we talk about that and we incorporate it. So
nice. So wow, you'd be able to take some of our watchers, our listeners, our participants in the audience here, and they can get psychotherapy sessions using the cards that they're studying.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great way to, it's just a more fun, and I know psychotherapy doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be all just talk. And I like to use a lot of different tools like the cards, because it breaks the ice. It involves images. You know, words only say so much, and images really bring, they bring a depth, like we've been talking about the whole time. And then I also use a lot of somatic experiencing in session as well. So really having the client pay attention to what sort of physiological sensations they're feeling during the session.
Nice.
That can really help with just bringing some anxiety down, or bringing some relief towards whatever kind of thing that they are dealing with. So
cool. Is there anything else you want to, because I'm sure, I'm just wondering what a session with you would be like. So you bring in the somatic elements, you bring in the cards if people want to.
yeah.
And it's mostly like talking with a friend, or what is a session like?
I am very relational. I'm a professional who is going to really make sure I'm very individualized and I'm very empathic. So I really make sure that our sessions we're going to look at, if it involves looking at the past, we'll do that, but I'm not going to focus solely on the past. I really care about the here and now and where we want to go towards. So, I do feel at times that people feel like it is talking to a friend. And I've had several clients tell me that it's like, oh my gosh, it's like talking to your best friend, except you're getting psychotherapy. And so there is, of course, an element of professionalism and also an element of transparency and being real and honest in the session if you can be. And then the other piece of it too is like, really being able to, sometimes it can be hard or scary to be in a session. And so I really like to make sure to go at the speed of the client, and that looks different for everybody. And so again, it's a very relational, like I'm really picking up on, where people are at, or if we need to stop, or if we need to press on, or if we need to look at a situation and unpack that. And so it's, like I said, it's very different from client to client, but I'm super passionate about what I do. And I have clients that stay with me for many, many years. And then I have other clients that are like in and out, and that's whatever works for people.
Cool. I
Yeah.
love that. To me, what you were describing sounds like a great card reading. Like
You
as
know?
card readers, like what better advice than really tapping into who you're sitting with
Yeah.
instead of getting overly focused on what do I need to do? How do I perform? What does a good card reading look like? And really allowing the client to show what pace they're ready to receive information at. And it might mean you don't get to share all the juicy, cool tidbits that you see as the reader
That's
in
right.
a card reading.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And I have clients who come back, and over years they're really kind of talking about the same thing. And we're chiseling away at it, a different dynamic. And they're growing and they're changing. And then one day it, like, the egg cracks open and they're like, it's like they're a different person. And it's just so amazing to see the evolution. I feel so honored to be able to be with people in their most intimate, darkest, maybe
Yes.
even highlighted best moments. And to be able to really hear the humanity, I think is, for me, just like the most sacred thing that I really I adore about my work with people, is that I really get to see who people are. And a lot of times they leave the session and then they go out and, their shell comes up and they go out and they are who they are to other people. So there's something really special about what we do together.
Right. Again, you're talking about card reading again,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've always loved that aspect of doing readings, is that you sit with someone you've never met before,
Mhm.
or someone you might know a little bit, and boom, you go right to what is actually important for that person, right to their most the thing that their soul just needs to unpack. There's no talk about the weather, there's no small talk, there's no that, and you can do that dance with someone forever
Yeah.
before they're willing to let you in or have a really meaningful conversation, but the conversations with cards are right away meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an opportunity to really connect with people on that level that's just so soul nourishing for everybody involved.
It is. It is. It's really, I get a lot, maybe just as much, maybe more than my clients. Like I really, really, I get so much from working with my clients, and in ways that it's not like, I don't feel like I'm a better person, but I feel like I get to see someone, and that to me brings healing into my life. And yeah, it's just, it's amazing. It's very sacred.
Well, you and I do the same thing in different ways, and
do.
we overlap quite a bit.
We do. We do. And these cards, like you were saying, you know, and we were talking about earlier, that these cards, they are psychological doorways. They are archetypes of our humanity. And so why not bring them into a card reading, and why not bring them into a psychology session, a counseling session?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Well, and hence the name of the new book, The Doors.
Yeah.
Lipith, you know, and we really go into that aspect of them, you know.
I can't wait for that book. I can't wait.
I know, me too. I'm like, okay, how do I dance around everything that's in the book without revealing it, but like still express my excitement? And
you're keeping us on our toes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add or talk about in these last few minutes?
Gosh, I don't think so. I feel good about what we talked about, and I could just talk for hours about these cards, you know. But I feel complete.
Cool.
Yeah.
Me too. I feel complete too. And I would just want to thank everyone so much for watching and for joining. And thank you so much for your support and your presence. I love you all so much. And if you are struggling, you know, if you are in a place where you don't feel like you have the tools to move yourself through something that's weighing on you, reach out to someone. And I highly recommend Allison with my whole heart, but don't hold back getting help that you need.
Yeah.
Sometimes we need to reach out.
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. Take care, everybody. And I hope to see you back next week. And Allison, let's do this again.
Let's do it. I would love to be back.
Cool. I can't believe I haven't had you on sooner. Like, I'm listening to you talk going, man, like, this is such a gold mine. We could just,
well,
like
you
this.
know, there's always this is the right time. This was meant to be. And I would love to be back. And oh my gosh, you better bet when that new book comes out, that book I'm coming back on.
You were so good about not revealing little hidden aspects. Allison knows secrets. Allison has secrets.
Oh, well, thanks again for having me. I'm just, this was wonderful to be able to vent my love for the cards.
Oh, you're so sweet. What a joy it was for me. What a blessing. I couldn't think of anything nicer.
Well, and thank you to those of you that were talking and listening and viewing. So, all right.